Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Wilmington Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Members of the public who would like to participate in the meeting via Zoom can do so by clicking on this link. Members of the public who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so via telephone by dialing 1-646-558-8656 and enter meeting ID 830-3493-9368. Then press pound and press pound again at the next voice prompt. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during that portion of the meeting designated for public comment by following the steps previously noted. Then press *9 on their telephone keypad. This will notify the meeting host that the caller wishes to speak. In the event that despite our best efforts, we are not able to provide for real-time access, we will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as we are able. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability for 34 King Street.
Mr. Chairman, if you wouldn't mind, maybe you could do a quick roll call before we get started with the first application.
Thank you. Going across the top. Ron Bradley.
I'm here.
Mike McInnes.
Here.
Tom O'Lilla.
Here.
Laura DeWall.
Here. Here.
Thank you. Alex Ritterhouse.
Here.
Don Pearson here. Vinny Licciardi.
Here.
Good. All present and accounted for. So as I said, we have an RDA for 34 King Street.
Great.
Hi, this is Steve Erickson at North Environmental Services.
Hi, Steve.
We are proposing the construction of a single-family dwelling and the raising of the existing single-family dwelling. The structure that's going to be torn down is 96 feet away from the edge of the wetland area, and the whole lot is a good distance away from the wetland area. It will be served by on-site sewage disposal, and that's about it. It's a pretty simple project, and it's a good distance away from the wetland.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Valerie?
Sure, I can pull the plan up if you'd like. And I believe neither Cameron and I had any other comments on this. As Steve said, most of the work is outside the buffer zone. It's just the grading for the septic in the back, and they are proposing erosion controls. So we didn't have any other comments.
Okay. To go around the commission, Vinny?
I have no comments.
Ron?
Fine with it.
Mike?
Muted. Needs to be unmuted.
Tom?
Sounds good.
And Laura?
I'm good. No comments. And Mike's unmuted.
And I'm good.
Okay, good. Are there any comments or questions from the audience on 34 King Street?
I believe there is. Let me just unmute Tracy, and we can get her comment.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. Hi. I live next door at 32 King Street. My big fear is I know now they build houses very high up. And in this neighborhood, a lot of us get water, some more than others. And when they built the house on the other side of me at 30 King Street, that was back in the 80s. It had originally failed multiple perk tests, and then for whatever reason, it passed, and they built a house. And not only did people who normally get water, did we flood, most of my neighbors flooded who never got water. I mean, I had 4 feet of water in my basement. I had, the town crier came down with a rowboat and rowed through my backyard. I mean, that's I don't know, like I say, I worry because they build houses so high now. How is that going to affect me and the water, like that I currently get, which I don't, pump nearly as much as some. Actually, the house that they're going to tear down, they pumped really almost year round. I mean, much more than I did. So I
Okay.
just don't know. I am a little concerned. I don't know how this will affect my property.
Stephen, would you like to comment on the grading?
Sure. This is, the soil tests indicate that everything was sand and gravel here. And we're keeping the cellar floor up to an elevation of 81. The existing elevation. Yeah, the existing elevation is pretty high to begin with. It's like 79 in the driveway, 80 across the lot. So we're actually lifting the house up a bit. We shouldn't have any effect with that permeability. I suspect that the problem is that your house is in the water table. This did have a 4-foot water table and a 2-minute an inch perk rate. So we're higher than we have to be. We're just going to have a walkout in the back, and it's not going to impact the amount of rainfall or anything else. I suspect that what's happening is that your house is actually in the water table. It's too deep. And in a coarse sandy material, well, that's a lot of water. It's 50% pore space. But we're not going to have any impact on the water.
That's a guarantee.
That's a guarantee.
Okay.
As a soil scientist, I can guarantee it.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Tracy, can I just get Tracy's last name?
Seelig.
Yeah.
Selig.
And your
you.
address, Tracy?
32 King Street.
32 King Street. Okay.
Yep. And that was my mother, Debbie, who was speaking.
Yeah, it's Deborah, Debora.
Anyone else like to comment on 34 King Street?
And if you'd like to comment, you can use the raise your hand feature. If you're on the phone, you can press *9.
Okay, we'll move ahead with the motion. Could I have a motion to issue a negative determination? Is it a -3, Valerie,
It's a -3.
for 34 King Street, please?
So moved.
Ron made the motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Vinny seconded the motion.
No, Laura did.
Laura?
Yep. Vinny's muted.
Oh, all right. For the vote, Vinny, could you unmute? Vinny, you're muted.
And
Good.
Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes. How do you vote, Vinny?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Ron?
I'm okay with it.
Mike?
Okay.
Tom?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And Alex?
Yes.
And myself, yes.
Valerie, could we be sure that the minutes reflect that guarantee of no change in the water table?
Sure.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a request for determination of applicability for 14 Patches Pond Lane.
And Mr. Chairman, Mike McGinnis informed us that he's going to recuse himself from this item. So I'm going to, so he's stopped his video and is muted. I don't know if you'd like me to have him leave the meeting or
No,
if this
that's
is
fine.
fine. Okay.
I can confirm that he is no longer visible and he is muted. Who'd like to speak to this?
Okay, hold on one second. Ed, I think I need to unmute you.
Good evening, folks.
Hello?
Edward Ratcliffe from Engineering and Surveying Services. What we'd like to do is we'd like to propose an expansion of the existing limit of work as previously proposed. The homeowner would like a little bit more of a bigger backyard. So we're looking to expand out to the 108 contour on the site plan. It consists of about 3,600 square feet in the buffer zone. And the closest point of this would be about 61 feet to the wetlands. There'll be very minimal grading in this area. And like I said, it's just for an expansion. They wanted a slightly larger backyard than originally they thought.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Cameron or Valerie, would you like to comment?
Yeah, I mean, same as 34 King Street. We didn't really have any extra comments for this one.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'll add that you guys haven't seen this before. They had kept all of their work outside the buffer zone. So their limit of work was along the 100-foot mark. So this is a proposal to expand that limit of work to include more yard space to the 108 contour, about 68 or 61 feet from the wetlands.
Okay, good. Thank you, Valerie. For comments from the commission, Vinny, do you have any comments?
I don't have any.
Okay. Ron, do you have any comments?
I just noticed the plot plan has a 25-foot no disturb zone and a 15-foot no build zone indicated, and they might want to correct that.
The labels are reversed.
Yeah.
I guess if they can't disturb within 25, we're all set.
You know, I thought they might not really want to put that limitation on themselves. So I was doing it as a favor to them, not to us.
Thank you, Ron. Tom, do you have any comments?
No, it looks good.
Laura,
No comments.
Alex, how about you? I'm sorry, I missed that.
No comment.
Okay, thank you. Likewise, myself, no comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on 14 Patches Pond Lane? Yes, Jim. We need to unmute him.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Okay, Jim DiOrio. I live at number 10 Patches Pond Lane. I'm pretty close to number 14. And I've looked at the plan and I have no objection to the regrading. As it is, their backyard is very small right now. It's under construction. And this regrading would definitely help them have a backyard that's actually usable. So I have no objection to this regrading plan.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment on 14 Patches Pond? No raised hands?
No raised hands.
Okay. let's move to the motion then. Could I have a motion to issue a -3, I presume,
Yes.
determination for 14 Patches Pond Lane, please?
So moved.
Ron made the motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Laura seconded the motion. We'll go to the vote then. How do you vote, Vinny?
Oh, I'm okay with it.
Ron?
I'm fine.
Tom?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And myself, yes. And as Valerie noted, Mike has recused himself. So we can let Mike back in and go to the next item on the agenda, which is a public hearing, a continued public hearing for a notice of intent for Shady Lane Drive.
And Mr. Chairman, we did receive a request to continue this to the December meeting.
Okay. Could I have a motion then to continue the public hearing for the NOI for Shady Lane Drive to the December, is it?
It's December 2nd.
December 2nd, yes. December 2nd meeting, please.
So moved.
Laura made the motion. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Vinny seconded the motion. To the vote, Vinny, how do you vote?
I'm okay with it.
Ron?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And Don, yes. To move on to the next item on the agenda, it's a continued public hearing for 687 Main Street. Hello, John.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. John McKenna for U-Haul, 687 Main Street. This is a continuation of a notice of intent. We were informed back in August of 2019 of a violation due to the paving in the back. We've continued the hearing several times. In the last meeting, you requested information from the engineer with regards to the proposals for the improvements. I have Stephen Dresser here from Dresser, Williams and Way. Would like to talk to you about what we intend to do to improve the area and improve the situation.
Okay, and in terms of what you've submitted, there's a response, a letter of response to engineering comments, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And Steve, are you going to go through that letter?
I'm going to go through a presentation. I can go through that letter as well as you want, but I think
Why don't you go to the presentation? We have the letter. We're good with that.
Okay. Again, Stephen Dresser, PE. My company is Dresser, Williams and Way Incorporated. I'm representing U-Haul in the matter before you. As Attorney McKenna explained, there was a pavement situation out here, and it came to be in violation. Basically, current condition, the lot is paved almost up to the wetland, as was the gravel that was there prior to it. It looks like the gravel was placed from aerial photography sometime between 1971 and 1978. So it had been there a long time. You know, I'm sure it was compacted as anything. There's no way to tell that now that it's been paved over, but presumption would be pretty reasonable that this was a pretty hard surface. What we have done, so we've prepared a design that increases plantings and enhances the buffer zone, increases flood storage, and treats stormwater prior to draining to the wetlands. Can I share my screen or?
Sure.
Yep.
Everybody see it?
Yes.
So this is the rear portion of the lot. First of all, we are removing the pavement around the outer edges of the parking lot. And we're gonna put in, I think it's 50 shrubs and 15 trees within 15 feet of the wetland. So there'll be a 15-foot enhanced buffer zone on the project. The stormwater runoff is now, it's directed to the rear of the property, or pretty much goes that way anyway, as well as over to the wetlands. We're gonna put in a curb system on this side and a curb, and everything will be directed in this area. The runoff will initially go to a pea stone diaphragm and then into an infiltration trench, which will kind of handle small storms and such. Doesn't really provide any attenuation, just a little bit of pre-treatment and storage for small storms. On larger storms, this infiltration basin will overflow into a sediment forebay, which again will overflow into a constructed gravel wetland. This consists of different layers of, let me show you. Over here, here's the infiltration trench and the subsurface gravel wetland. Right here, it comes in here. There's wetland vegetation, wetland soil, pea gravel, crushed stone. It is surrounded with a 30 mil HDP liner. Gets treated in one cell, will flow to another cell, treated, gets some treatment again, and then outflow through an outlet control structure at a certain elevation. This system actually kind of stays wet, other than through evaporation and root pull up and all that, and the storms kind of displace the water that is in there. So it's kind of a high water situation anyway. Comes in, displaces that water, pushes out the water that's been there, and has been treated by the wetland soil and what's on the inside. Okay.
Oh, is
Some of
that different?
The environmental standards we're trying to meet here really include flood storage, riverfront area redevelopment, and stormwater management. We are in agreement that we have provided flood storage on this property, and there is no increase in fill on the site that would affect the flooding. As far as the riverfront area redevelopment is concerned, we would be allowed to develop under these standards because the standard in the redevelopment under CMR 1058-5 refers to reuse of degraded or previously developed areas. And certainly the gravel, everything that was there before was degraded and previously developed. So we are not increasing any areas that were not developed before. Therefore, we would meet the criteria under CMR 1058-5. Where we're kind of at an impasse is the difference between the gravel and the impervious area. So we are of the position that the gravel, the pre-existing gravel would be considered impervious area, and therefore we would qualify for redevelopment. And therefore, the system that we have meets the criteria of maximum extent practicable that is found under Mass stormwater guidelines. The engineering department disagrees with that. They think we should use what I would consider a very low curve number of 76 on this gravel, especially since it's been there for more than 40 years. We've had some back and forth on that. We just don't agree on that. I will say this: whether we use 76 curve number, for those who don't know, is essentially assigned by a technical release 55 program that the federal government has, commonly known as HydroCAD, and they assign curve numbers that are basically equal to the expectation of permeability. So 76 would be pretty permeable. Even woods in this would be a 77. So the number that we've been asked to use by the engineering department is actually more permeable than you would find in woods. HydroCAD itself calls for a CM value of 96 for gravel that is not within a right of way, which it certainly isn't. Therefore, we feel that this should be considered a redevelopment. I would like to point out, as far as pre and post development runoff, whether we use the 76 or the 96, there is not an increase in rate of runoff, and this is primarily because we've removed pavement and at one time gravel and replaced it with all the plantings and the runoff. So the reduction of degraded area is significant enough, regardless of what the CN value is, that we do not have an increase in rate of runoff.
Okay, Steve?
Yep.
I appreciate the detail, but it's my understanding that as of this meeting, that you, and I mean you collectively, haven't supplied all of the information and detail that was requested at the October meeting. Could you clarify?
We have done. It's just that we disagree with what information is required.
Were the plans updated and submitted?
The plans were not revised and were not changed because we feel that we are in compliance with the stormwater standards. That's our position.
Valerie or Cameron, do you want to comment on that?
Sure.
I kind of feel like I should be able to complete my, let you know what's going on here.
Well,
I'm not sure why I was interrupted during my presentation
I think that basically the information that you're walking through has been before the commission before. There's nothing new, right?
There is, I have not been before the commission and discussed the stormwater in its entirety, and we had revisions in August and certainly those have not been discussed with the commission.
Mr. Chairman, would you allow the engineer to just discuss and go over in detail what we propose to do, and then we can hear from the town as to why they don't think-
I'm pretty far,
I mean, basically,
let me just finish.
Hold on. We did have the plans before us before. If you'd like to discuss briefly, if this is your first chance to talk about things, Steve, if you can go through your remarks briefly on that I mean less than 5 minutes, you're welcome to do so.
The biggest difference between being a redevelopment and a non-redevelopment is full compliance with the stormwater standards. I don't know how we would do that. There's high groundwater on the site. It's an existing site that's fully paved. So we feel that we've done a very good system that's going to treat the water not only better than the paved area, obviously, but better than what was there before. So even when the gravel was there was still direct runoff to the wetlands. Now we're going to treat the whole site. It's not what would be considered in full compliance with mass stormwater standards, but due to the constraints of the site and the existing nature of it, we have high groundwater and such. We feel that we've shown that we're a redevelopment and we're in compliance with the redevelopment standards, which means maximum extent practicable. And I'm not sure what we could do beyond this. Going back to a gravel surface certainly would not be what we want to do. And we don't intend to rip out the parking lot and make everything higher so we can comply with offsets to groundwater.
Let's thank you very much, Steve. Let's get Valerie and Cameron's input now, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. We had issued some comments back in September 2nd. I guess ours were in August, actually, the end of August. And then the engineering division had issued their comments September 2nd. There was a response to comments by Mr. Dresser, and we we didn't receive the information that we were looking for. And I can kind of run through the list of things if that's helpful to go over some of the issues. Okay.
Yep.
So first has to do with riverfront area. The pre-existing, I believe that when these folks got involved with the project, the back of the site was already paved. Before it was paved, the existing condition was a dirt surface. It had large kind of ruts, potholes in it. There was even, evidence of some vegetation. It wasn't a neat and tidy gravel parking lot. It was kind of a dirt surface that was used that they parked their trucks on sometimes. So new pavement over top of that surface typically isn't seen as redevelopment for riverfront. And so they would need to provide us with a very good argument as to why it would be considered redevelopment. Using that dirt surface, okay, that's distracting. Using that dirt surface, hold on one second. Okay, so if I could finish my presentation, thank you. So using that dirt surface for parking with not authorized to do that was the previous kind of situation. So they would need to give us more information, and this was confirmed with DEP in conversations with them. They would need to give us more about why this meets the definition of redevelopment when it was new pavement over a pervious surface. Moving on, because the surface previously was uneven, paving that surface, we asked the question about how was that pavement, how did it impact the floodplain? Was there fill from the gravel prep and the pavement over top? We asked that question. We weren't provided with any information, or I guess any evidence that there was no fill when the back of the site was paved. The riverfront line shown on the plans was drawn on there using aerial photography. We had asked that they provide some field indicators as required by the riverfront section of the regs. Field indicators of where that riverfront line exists. And we were not provided with those. They stated previously that they were unable to access the riverfront area and unable to delineate it. And then the town engineer had some comments. One was regarding the groundwater recharge on the site. It's in the groundwater protection district that requires a certain percentage of recharge. He had asked them to look at different areas where there could be recharge on the site, and we were not provided with an evaluation of that. Another item was the 10-year floodplain associated with Maple Meadow Brook. When the engineering division looked at the 10-year floodplain, they saw that it was above the outlet that's proposed for the stormwater system. And so they asked that the applicant look at that and evaluate that. We were not provided with that evaluation. So in essence, because the outlet was, the 10-year flood would actually act as the gravel wetland proposed would actually gather water from Maple Meadow Brook in a 10-year flood. So an additional thing was, one that was mentioned was the curve number. The engineering division wrote something up here that I can kind of read to the commission. I think you have it in front of you. That the equation really should be arranged from 72 to 91 for gravel and dirt. And he has a sort of an explanation of that. And I'm not going to get into that because I won't be able to do it justice. But just one other thing is that we asked them for compliance with standard 5 of the stormwater policy for land use of higher potential pollutant load, the exterior fleet storage that the parking would include would be considered a LUPL. And that was a comment actually by DEP and the engineering division when comments were issued. They also did not apply for or obtain their all required local approvals. They would need to get a special permit from the Board of Appeals for being over the 15% impervious coverage with the pavement. They would need to get site plan review and a local stormwater management permit through the planning board. So we had asked for those pieces of information, but we did not receive satisfactory answers and evaluations.
Okay, thank you. So let's move through the commission and see if there's any additional comments or questions.
Are we allowed to respond to those comments?
Why don't we give the commissioners a chance to sort of ask questions as well, and you can sort of bundle them all together. Okay.
Okay.
Vinny, do you have any?
No.
Ron?
I have no comments. No.
Tom?
Nothing further than that.
Laura?
Yeah, I have a couple comments. I'm familiar with HydroCAD and curb numbers, and just in my own experience, dirt and gravel is not typically in the high 90s for the curb number. And it is reasonable to have it lower down because it is pervious, where pavement would be obviously in the high 90s. And then I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this, but a lot of your comments thus far have been to the point that you disagree with the regulations and that you want to do something different, but the regulations still stand. So you can disagree with them all you want, but the regulations still stand.
I don't disagree with the regulations. I disagree with the interpretation of them.
Yeah, let's
And
let's continue with the commissioners. Was that all you wanted to say?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Laura. Mike?
I guess just on, I don't know how big the permeability issue is, but is that something that could be tested to determine what the number could be?
it's no longer gravel. You know, we've been asked to determine what the elevations were prior to the pavement. I don't know how we would do that without a prior survey.
There's no soil in the immediate vicinity that's similar to what was there that could be tested?
No, they paved over everything. You know, and where they paved certainly would be the more compacted. And just so you know how what HydroCAD calls is gravel with a right of way is between 76 and 91. Gravel without a right of way is 96, and we're not a right of way. So regardless of what the interpretations are, that's actually what's in HydroCAD.
Anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Alex?
No, I was taking notes on what Valerie was saying. I didn't get fully the point on the 10-year flood plain. Saw that something was above the outlet. Could you just explain that point again for me?
Sure. So when the engineering division did a cursory review of the floodplain, it looked like the 10-year floodplain associated with Maple Meadow Brook is above the outlet of the proposed stormwater system. So sort of making that system take in water from Maple Meadow Brook, flooding it during a 10-year storm, taking in water from the brook instead of taking water from the site.
Okay. Okay, thank you. No other comments.
Okay. Again, you wanted to respond to the comments that Valerie and the commissioners made. It appears that there's a number of things that basically weren't answered. So I don't know that it makes sense for you to try and provide that material right now if it hasn't been done over the last couple of months, but please, Steve.
Okay, let me start with the
Yeah.
redevelopment of Riverfront. That this is the actual language, and it says may allow, so it's not a shall allow.
Can I ask you a question, Steve? Is this material that the commission has in its hands right
Yes.
now? Okay.
Yep. So the standard is reuse of degraded or previously developed areas, regardless of whether this was hard packed gravel with a little bit of lawn flow and all that. It wasn't previously developed, so we're not ignoring a alternatives analysis. We're just simply stating that we have a right to do this based on what the regulation says.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question about that?
Yep.
So the, Steve, that sentence that you pointed out, the next sentence, previously developed riverfront area contains areas degraded prior to 96 by impervious surfaces. And so that's part of the regs as well. So this would have been a pervious surface.
There's absence of topsoil as well. That's another or. There was no topsoil on there.
Yeah, so that's what we were looking for, an evaluation of what was there before. I know that.
Wait, when has anybody questioned what the gravel were? I sent several aerial photos from Google Maps up to 2004 that show everything is cleared out there. Doesn't show any indications of vegetation in 2004. Back to 78 when it first appears to be, in 71 when it was not cleared, and here's 95 when it's cleared out. 2001 it's cleared. So I don't know what evaluation. I mean, if you're looking for an alternative analysis, I mean, this is not, we're not starting out from scratch here. We have an existing site that's paved and been under use for decades. They've paved it. They understand that. We're trying to make the situation as best we can with the existing situation. The entire lot is in riverfront area. We've provided buffer zones that haven't existed since 1978. And we provided a stormwater treatment thing. As far as the 10-year storm, what we've been asked is to calculate the 10-year storm. And now I'm hearing that they know what the 10-year storm elevation is. So I don't know why I wasn't given the actual elevation. If they looked at this and noticed that the elevation was above the outlet, why wouldn't they just tell me what the elevation is instead of trying to get me to jump through hoops to calculate the 10-year floodplain, which isn't readily available? And our position this whole time is that, yes, we're in the floodplain. We're 100% in the floodplain other than the building. When we have large storms, the system is not going to work the way it would as we would be required if we were starting from scratch. So I'm not sure what it is that they would expect us to do on this property.
Well, I guess, just to chip in, if nothing had been done, it hadn't been paved, it would be performing as it had for a while. But the fact is, it was changed, and now there's an additional obligation to make sure that the changes play well with the environment around
And
it.
all we can do is do that. We can't change the floodplain elevations. We can't change the groundwater elevations. We have to work with what we have. And I don't know what would be expected other than what we did.
I think that you heard a list of unanswered questions or things that
We
you
can,
didn't
if
respond
the
to.
answer is we can't do that under what their interpretation of the stormwater standards are, then that's the answer. This is what
So-
we can do. That we believe, what we believe to be true is that it should be classified as a redevelopment. You as a board get to decide whether or not you agree with them or with us. We think we've provided compelling documentation that we are correct.
You could basically make it much more robust, or you could simply.
That doesn't change any of the criteria that we're not in compliance with. Making it more robust is we don't have an increase in rate of runoff. We don't have a flood storage issue. Making it bigger does not solve what the problems are. It's still good. The 10-year floodplain is still going to come onto the site, and the 100-year floodplain is going to take out the whole site.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I see where you're going. Steve, we understand that you have strong feelings in your opinion about how this should go. I think what the chairman is saying about being more robust is we've, put together this project and we're trying to improve the site in a situation which wasn't ideal, but we're trying to make it better than the gravel surface from before by being able to treat the water. Given the location of the site, we feel that treatment is a very important improvement to the area. And I hear what Valerie's saying and the town engineer's saying about certain issues as well. Our engineer has gone through and done these evaluations, and he feels that this is the most we can do to get the situation improved by treating the water before it goes anywhere and containing it. Now, with regards to the items that have been explained now, that the elevation of the 10-year storm, do you mean, Mr. Chairman, that you can make it more robust by taking that additional information and improving on the things that we've proposed here, or what was your idea about making it more robust? I'd be curious as what you mean by that, sir.
Well, I would say that by making it more robust, I had in mind give me a hand with this, Valerie. I was thinking that you wouldn't be bound by any of the solution that you put in place right now with the paving, that you would bring in more fill. I mean, that you would do something that would be essentially much more involved to achieve the to remove the threat of being flooded, to remove the possibility of
You can't raise it because you're in the floodplain 100%. So we can't raise the site. You raise the site, you fill in floodplain. You can't do that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Sure.
So we're not arguing that there are definitely a lot of constraints here. I think we were looking for, I guess, more robust information and more robust evaluations to if they can't meet something, then they need to do the evaluation to show that they cannot meet it. And we didn't receive, they were asked to look at certain areas for recharge. And, you know, there's a reason.
What we were asked to do, we've done more than that. That we were asked, I get, and there was a misunderstanding, I guess, but ultimately it's the same thing. If you're asked to recharge around the building and everything goes to the back and you got an infiltration trench there, that's going to be a lot bigger than anything you put around the building, then we've met the concept of recharge on the site to the point that we can only go so deep because of groundwater. But we didn't not do recharge. There is recharge.
Again, is it a matter of documentation? Is it a matter of justification written and explained in drawings?
I think it's a combination. I think we're
looking for rationale.
But we're also looking, there are things that you can do differently with the stormwater.
Like what? I mean, like what?
Why don't we toss that back at you?
I'm telling you what I can do. You can't fill the site. You have high groundwater. You're 100% in floodplain. You're right up against the wetland. I honestly, I'm stumped if you're asking me to do something. If somebody has something in mind, there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, why don't you try this? I'm not perfect. Maybe I'm not seeing something, but I don't see why we're playing. I'm playing the guessing game.
Hey, Mr. Chairman,
until I hit what it is that somebody wants, if they know what they want.
Well, I think at the very least, the list of items that were requested is what is, in the first instance, wanted by the commission.
I
I think providing that information.
It's not that I can't document them. If they tell you to meet, basically they're asking me to read the requirements of Massachusetts stormwater management. We can't do that. It's impossible.
Irrespective of that determination, the record is deficient. The information.
I disagree. We've had several back and forth on this. What is deficient? Give me a list of deficiencies.
I think the list was just provided, right?
Yeah.
It's a disagreement. There's not. You want to go over it? We can go over it.
No, Steve.
Thank you.
Hold on a minute, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
John, we have basically what the town was looking for. Valerie read out a list of things that were unanswered.
My latest response letter explains why they're unanswered.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to mute him.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. So basically, the town has said, here's what's missing. And I guess I don't know whose fault it is that you came late to the game, but this whole project has been a long, drawn-out affair. And maybe you're here sort of late to deliver this explanation, but there are things that you haven't provided. It was our understanding at the last time we got together that these things would be available, and they aren't. So we're going to have to move forward basically by denying this and have it start over again.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the one thing that I wanted to say is I'm not an engineer. He's an engineer and he seems adamant about his proposal to make this situation improve. That's his idea and how he thinks it's going to work. I think what he was saying was they're asking for evaluations and different alternatives. At the same time, I think he was looking to see if the town had something that they propose they think would be a better way of doing it. And that's what his point was. He's just being very strong in pointing on his opinion. And that's what I want to explain that. My job here as the attorney is working for you all is to try to get this on the right track. I'm not an engineer, but I want to work with the town and find out what needs to get done because we're a good corporate citizen and we want to do the right thing. This is in a delicate spot, to say the least. The area down there has been industrial for a long time.
Yeah.
What they did, but they didn't do with malice, and we're trying to make it right.
John,
So I
yeah,
understand what you're
do you-
saying, and you told me before that you're gonna just go forward with that, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But my point is, we want to work with the town and find out what they
Good.
need to
That-
improve.
So basically, it's been a long time. It's been a tough project. This in a sense is a reboot. You know what's needed. I mean, if you just wanted to take up the proposal as you have, you could say, okay, now we need to add these things, these responses in order to satisfy the town. It could be that there is some kind of result that may come out of a new dialogue, and that may move it forward. But I think that we have to, tonight, we just have to say, enough time's gone into this. We'll have to deny your application and to come up with, and to require you to basically enter into some new arrangement to either restore the site or to basically develop it to something that is as compliant as can be and agreeable to the town and to the applicant. Is that fair to say? Did I say that reasonably, Valerie?
Yes, definitely. I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So without trying to defend, particular technical details and stuff like this, can we move on with basically what I just described, which is to deny the project as proposed? There's an order of conditions. Did they get to see them by any chance, Valerie?
No, they did
Okay.
not.
Okay. That's something that you'll see and basically it is the list of things that you were looking for enumerated, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So the reasons that Valerie discussed will be in that denial. And then we'll discuss an enforcement order to figure out how to move forward. Okay? Was there anyone from the outside world that wanted to weigh in on this?
I don't believe so, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
So, could I have a motion to issue I guess we're going to close the hearing.
Mr. Chairman, before you close the hearing,
Yeah.
could I just ask to allow the engineer just to come back on and unmute him, just if, so
To
long
what-
as it's
to
not
what-
disruptive?
To what end, John?
He just wants to, close out the meeting. He doesn't want to end on being cut off and shut off like that. He asked that he just be allowed to be unmuted. Mr. Chairman, just,
But we're not going to go through.
I know,
we're
Mr.
not
Chairman,
gonna
just,
work engineering details.
I understand. He's a professional. He just would request to be unmuted for one last word, and then we'll move on.
Is the last
you
word
would.
something that will take less than a minute?
Thank you, sir. Valerie, could you unmute Steve?
The one thing I just like to point out is I gave responses to everything. I don't want to be painted as ignoring a request. I did give responses to everything. They might not have liked my responses, but I did give them, and all my responses are based on my belief that this is a redevelopment project. That's really the only place that we differ.
All right, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So we're looking to close the hearing, the continued hearing for 687 Main Street. Could I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Laura made the motion. Second, please.
Second.
Ron seconded the motion. To the vote, Vinnie, how do you vote?
Okay,
Ron,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And myself, yes. To issue a denial and order of conditions. We have them in our packet. Is there any question that any of the commissioners might have had about those? Hearing none, could I have a motion to issue the denial and order of conditions for 687 Main Street?
So moved.
Laura made the motion. Second. Who's going to say? Mike, was that you?
Yes.
Thank you. To the vote, Vinnie, how do you vote? Vinnie,
Oh,
how do you vote?
How do you
We're-
vote?
We're voting on it.
on what?
On what?
You interrupted me. Can I have that question again, please?
Yeah, we're voting on the issuing the denial and order of conditions. How do you vote?
Okay,
Okay, thank you. Ron,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
and myself, yes. Okay, so moving forward. Valerie?
Sure. So there are a couple options that the commission can consider. One is to require a restoration plan by a certain date, or the other is to require that they submit an NOI that addresses the information that was lacking in the last filing, the items that were listed in the denial. And I would recommend that the commission give them until the December deadline for the January meeting to give a little bit more time, not the next meeting. So there's two different approaches. And I think it's worth, while you could require them to kind of restore the area, provide a restoration plan. I think it does make sense to have them submit an NOI for a project that, like you said, does its best to meet all of the standards that are involved.
Okay, and presumably the restoration wouldn't involve using the area as parking or vehicle storage, right? Restoring it would mean it's
kind of a zoning question, I think, that we would have to find the answer to, but it would be restoring those resource areas to their pre-existing condition.
which would be a gravel lot at the most basic.
Right.
Okay. And possibly a lot that you wouldn't be used for vehicles. That's the zoning part of it.
That's the piece I don't know.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I think that would be on the conservation. We'd like the opportunity to address the issues that Valerie had
Okay.
talked about and work with the town to try to move forward here. I think, if we had that opportunity, we get a clean list of what she's looking for and work and try to get some sort of improvement to the area, I think would be best for the town. I mean, my client's been on the site for many years here, and we're trying to, move forward on this and make improvements to the site. So if I can get a clean list of exactly what she's looking for and try to find out why it can't be met or how it could be met or what can be done and come with a better plan, to try to move this thing forward would be ideal for us. But at the same time, that's a decision of the commission.
Are you comfortable with with your engineers and the applicant's ability to meet was it December 16th deadline for submitting material?
I don't think that would be appropriate, but maybe January. It's very hard these days to get anything done. And to meet these 1 month deadlines is real tough. I'm extremely busy. I know he's extremely busy. We want to get this job done. This is a priority for us. But to have, we're at November 4th and have a deadline, what would the date be for the deadline for submittal?
December 16th, I think.
December 16th.
Yeah.
And now you're running into Christmas and an unknown time with Thanksgiving and it's just so crazy now. I would prefer like another 30 days to get that in to see what we can do and try to come, to something. And I know what we can't ask the town to tell us what to do, but he has put forward a plan and we would like to know, somewhere short of the total compliance, which we don't think we can meet. And he seems to be, at logger's end himself on how to do it, but some sort of area that would be acceptable, that would be improvements and something that we can do absent tearing this parking lot up and have it just be gravel and going back into that resource area. I think what we propose is an improvement, but I understand if you want more improvement, would be willing to try to figure that out. So maybe the January deadline for the February meeting, I think would be better for me. Try to put this forward and give it one last crack to try to get this thing done.
How reasonable is that, Valerie, from your point of view?
That's up to you. That's up to the commission, really.
How does everyone feel? Vinny? Shoot for the January meeting or the February meeting?
Don't confuse me.
Say,
I'm not saying anything. Are you looking for an answer from me?
I was just going to go ask each of the members whether you would like to keep the pressure on, basically have them submit the material that Valerie has called out in the denial order of conditions by December 16th for the January meeting, or as Attorney McKenna has suggested, allow them to go to mid-January and appear at the February meeting with a new notice of intent.
Well, I think they have all that information and they want to do that. I would say okay. I would say okay.
Okay to stick with December or
To go to January.
Go to January?
Yeah.
Ron?
Like you said, it takes a lot of time to do some of the things that they have to do. It does.
Okay. Ron, do you have a feeling one way or the other?
Yeah, I guess my feeling is that if we were asking for this information for the first time tonight, that 6 weeks to get it, mid-December would be close to reasonable, but where we've been asking for this information for quite some time, I hate to see us get to December and there's snow or ice or it's cold and we're looking at a request to continue again till mid-spring. I'd go along with getting it to us by January for the February meeting, but just with the admonition that they need to get going on it, and that weather and COVID and whatnot will need to be overcome.
Thank you. Laura?
Yeah, I agree with Ron. I think there's a lot of time has passed. There's a lot of procedural issues that have not occurred. There's from month to month, we keep hearing that that we'll get a whole bunch of new information and it just keeps not happening. And I understand John was saying he's very busy, but it sounds like he's very busy every month and this keeps getting delayed. And I think, again, in agreement with Ron, I think if this was something we were seeing for the first time around, I would agree with January, but I think it's past time for you guys to make this a priority. And
I would like to see a real body of work be completed before you come in front of us the next time. And some of the procedural things that are going down in the order of conditions to be addressed and communicated. We heard requirements from the zoning board, Board of Appeals, engineering. I don't remember everybody else, but it's all in the order of conditions. And so there are many parties that are interested and are looking for information, and very few of them have been addressed. And I think giving you an extra month will just run into the same results just a month later.
So you're in favor of the January meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah, I think I would go along with the January meeting. I mean, this site has been in its current condition for a long time, so another 30 days isn't going to materially change anything.
Thanks, Mike.
I also would agree, but what I'd like to see is, I'm sure none of us will forget, but the minutes clearly state the applicant's indication that they will make progress at that meeting at that time. So I would say agree.
Okay. Alex?
Is the question is to have them submit in December for the January meeting, or submit in December for the December meeting?
Submit in December for the January meeting. So not next meeting in December, but basically give them until January to come before us in January with the material in hand in mid-December.
Mr. Chairman, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Could I interrupt? And okay, so whatever the commission decides, you should be comfortable with that date as a firm requirement, because it would be an enforcement order. There could be penalties if that deadline is not met. So, you know, that if that sways which way you go, giving more time or not, just know that it's a hard deadline that has to be met, or there can be fines.
Thank you. Alex?
Yeah, I'm in support of the sooner date, the soonest date possible.
Okay. All right. I think that I would as well. I'm going to suggest then that we word the enforcement order to basically have you appear at the January meeting, which would mean that the material would have to be submitted in mid-September, mid-December, sorry. And I think that among the good reasons I heard were weather sort of coming in, and the fact that you probably have a lot of the stuff at your fingertips and you already have something to work with. So.
Can she send me that order of conditions now with the list of items we need to do? Can I get that now? We don't have that order of conditions.
I can send that to you, yes.
Yeah.
As a draft, and then you would receive it as the completed.
With a clear list of items that you're looking for, so we can get going on it and communicate with you and get it to you as soon as we can. If we have a date of what, December, 16th?
The 16th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion then to approve an enforcement order, issue an enforcement order, sorry, to basically respond to the denial order of conditions. And Valerie, will it include the wording to generate a new notice of intent?
Yes.
And it will have all of the things that basically were missing from this one.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
And then you would appear at the January meeting. And I don't have the calendar in front of me, but the January meeting is?
It is January 2nd, I believe.
January 2nd, okay, good.
I'm wrong, January 6th.
January 6th, good, okay. So could I have a motion then to that effect, please?
So moved.
Laura made the motion, second?
Second.
Ron seconded the motion. Vote, Vinnie,
Okay,
Ron,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Don, yes. And as you heard Valerie clarify earlier, the deadline's a hard deadline. And there's consequences for missing it. So. That's the agenda here. Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Yep. Have a good holiday. We'll see you in January. So the next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for 378, 384 Middlesex Ave.
And they have requested to continue to the December meeting, December 2nd.
Okay. Now, will that also include the attorney's information about the way to do the arithmetic for the redevelopment area?
We're getting a whole new packet from Princeton, so you will be seeing those new materials soon.
Oh, it'll be a big revision.
Yeah, we'll get that to you sooner rather than later because
All
it's a bit of material. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Could I have a motion then to continue the public hearing for 378, 384 Middlesex Ave to December 2nd?
So moved.
move.
Laura made the motion. Second? Did you second, Vinnie?
I thought I did first.
Good.
Made the motion.
All right, no, Laura got you by a second. Do you want to second it?
Okay, that's fine.
Second, okay. All in favor? Vinnie? How do you
Okay.
vote? Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Don, yes. Next on the agenda are requests for certificate of compliance. The first is from 205R Aldrich Road.
And Mr. Chairman, they asked for a little bit more time. I think they made some progress with the talking to the new homeowners about the fence, but they haven't quite gotten it moved yet. So they were asking for tabling to the next meeting.
Okay. Could I have a motion to table the request for a certificate of compliance for 205R Aldrich Road?
So moved.
Laura made the motion and a second.
Second.
Vinnie seconded
Yeah.
the motion. How do you vote, Vinnie?
Okay,
Ron?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And Don, yes. The next is a request for a certificate of compliance for 0 North Washington Ave.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Good evening. I'm Patrick Seecamp of Seecamp Environmental. And I'm here representing John Cusinata, who I see was on the call on the Zoom meeting earlier. I'm here just to give you a quick update because I did talk to Cameron. I've been in touch with Cameron regarding where we are to date on this. And we have one item that is yet to be completed, but I'll give you a quick update and let you know where we are. In 2018, the Conservation Commission in September issued an order of conditions. This was a site on North Avenue where the applicant had cut some trees on the town's land had topped the trees. We were pulled in. Dana Perkins did the site plan for this. We put a buffer zone restoration plan together. I oversaw the planting of the small shrub species and tree species that was approved within the order of conditions in late fall of 2018. So we had reviewed the area and we submitted to the Conservation Commission a end of growing season status report at the fall of 2019. I subsequently had gone out and reviewed the area and determined that we had actually lost a couple of gray birch and a quaking aspen tree out there. I then oversaw the replanting of some additional plants to replace those. I had reviewed the project in the spring of 2020, this spring. Everything was looking good, and I re-reviewed the project, the area in fall, September of this year, 2020. I've submitted the end of second growing season status report. Cameron gave me some feedback as to looking for some additional information. I have revised that report. I actually submitted it today with the more specific numbers of trees and shrubs that we had planted and the fact that they've all are surviving and thriving. I think the area looks good. I've submitted photographs of the area, and another item that Cameron had picked up on that is yet to be addressed is in the order conditions, we are required to put signage, 3 placards, 2 on the property, the lawn, sort of the lawn north side of the property up against the buffer zone, and 1 along the North Ave sidewalk area adjacent to the property. So we've ordered those signs. We've pre-approved the verbiage, ran them by Cameron, and Mr. Cusinato is having the signs made, and we intend to put those up as soon as we can get them.
Yeah, Friday.
Okay. So Cameron, is the only thing that's missing the signs?
Yep, and John said that they've already been ordered and
Okay.
that they were coming in sometime this week. So
Yeah, they'll be in Friday, and I'll install them Friday if the light permits.
So we could issue the certificate and basically hold it until you install the signs. As I
Okay.
understand it, right? Is that reasonable?
Yeah, that we feel that's very reasonable.
Okay.
It would save us the opportunity to, need to come back and
Yeah.
we can verify the sign placement with Cameron.
Are you with us on this, Cameron, Valerie? This is okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay, good. Could I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for 0 North Washington Ave?
Excuse me, Don, my chance to nitpick a second time tonight. I'm seeing 67 North Washington
Yeah,
Ave
it's
and 0 North
67.
Washington Ave.
67.
I was looking at the 0 on the agenda. All right, I'll say 67.
Right.
It was also on the request for certificate of compliance, the 0, but the picture said 67,
Okay.
so I wasn't.
Well, so it's actually 40. So 67.
Number, that's good.
Well, that makes me feel better. I was confused, I
All
guess.
right, what do we do? What's
So
the-
67 is John's property, or right?
Yes.
So so this was actually on the town property next door.
Yeah.
And that's 40?
Correct.
That's it doesn't exactly have a number, so we call it 0.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll go with 0 then still. So let's see, the motion for to issue the certificate for 0 North Washington Ave. Anyone like to make the motion?
So moved.
So moved.
All right, I'm gonna
Second.
give that to Laura. Vinny got a second. All in favor, Vinny, how do you vote?
Okay,
Ron,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Don, yes. All right, great. And we'll hold it until the signs are installed and then we're all set.
Do I need to call Cameron to come down and verify it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, just give me a call once you put them up and I'll come out, take a swing
Take a
over.
look.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Thank you all.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Good night.
Look,
So we have-
I can sign off now?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sure enough. I know.
All right.
You've suffered enough. All right. So the only thing we have left is minutes for October. Is there anything else, Valerie, or is that it?
We did include, I think Cathy included a proposed schedule for 2021. So if you could take a look at that and see how it looks. If you have any questions, comments, we'll want to get those dates to the town manager's office for the calendar and for scheduling. So just let us know if you have any comments or questions.
Let us know, let you know instantly or by email.
Either way.
Okay. Yeah.
Cathy, does that work? Does email at a later point? Oh, she wants to be unmuted. There we go.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that works. We just need to, the January, as soon as we can, because the January deadline will be in December. And depending on when the January meeting is, that will affect the December deadline.
Okay.
So yeah, email I think would be probably preferable.
Good. So the meeting minutes for October. On page 6, I did have one thing I noticed, Cathy.
Okay.
Under discussion, the third paragraph, the second to last sentence. Work can begin while waiting for permission.
Oh, right.
And that's the only correction, but it got me thinking about the discussion we had. Is there anything new or different on 911 Main Street, Valerie?
Nothing new or different.
Okay. And so we asked them to begin construction by the end of the year, right? So checkup time for them would be the time of the January meeting to see if they actually broke ground, right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
Good.
Okay, but in the minutes, there were documents that had to be submitted by October 21st. Or that was what you suggested, so we're not doing that, right?
Well, no, did we get those, I guess? Did we get any stuff from them?
No, I think what was settled on was that they needed to start construction by the end of the year.
Right.
And then finish construction by July.
July, yeah, okay.
Okay.
So everyone feel comfortable on checking in January to see if they started and, okay, good. Any other comments or questions on the meeting minutes for October 7th? So hearing none, could I have a motion to accept, to approve the meeting minutes for October 7th as amended?
So moved.
Laura made the motion. Could I have a second?
Second.
Vinny seconded the motion. How do you vote, Vinny?
Okay.
Ron?
Yes.
Mike?
Accepted.
Laura?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And Don, yes. Okay, so that's a wrap. I apologize for, I think I stayed up a little too late watching the election returns there. It
Oh,
took a
yeah,
while.
was there an election yesterday?
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
I got sort of lost in the middle of 687. All's well that ends well, I hope.
That's right. Thank you all for being here.
Sure. I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving too.
Thank you. Same to you all.
Thank you.
Sure.
You're going to vote to close the meeting?
Yes. Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting, please?
Moved.
Laura made the motion. And I'll second the motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Benny, how do you vote?
Okay,
Ron,
Yes.
Mike,
You betcha.
Laura,
I was thinking of sticking around for a while, but I guess I'll let you guys go.
Tom,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Okay, me too. Good night, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Good night. Happy
Night.
Thanksgiving.
See you in December.
Good night.